SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease is on the ground in New York and joins us. Sherwin, welcome. These elections have been described as a neck and neck race with no certain outcome. How has voting unfolded as you assess the general sentiment amongst voters?
Well, we are not even halfway into the voting day here in New York, and that is emblematic of what we are seeing around the country, right? We have 6 time zones and more across the United States, so polling will only end in places like Hawaii at around midnight our time, which is about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for you. Places like Alaska on the far west coast will only close at 1 a.m. our time tonight, which is around 8 a.m. South African time tomorrow. And let me just show you something. This is what each voter wants to get. This is the I Voted sticker 2024, and that's what you leave with once you have filled out your ballot. Let me just explain to you the process that is unfolding behind me. We are at a polling station in central Manhattan. This is blue country, democratic, traditional democratic stronghold. People check in over there. They are verified to ensure that their address matches the precinct where they are voting. They will then be issued a ballot paper. The ballot paper does not just include who is running for president. You have state senators, you have federal senators, you have every single member of the House of Representatives is on the ballot, right? But you vote for the ones that are running in the state of New York or the ones that are running in the state of California based on where you are. There are various judicial positions that are on the ballot. So it's not just a presidential election, right? When we throw the number around that we talked about earlier this week, around $15 billion being spent on this U.S. election writ large, that tells you just how expensive this race is, but also how overwhelming it is in terms of the representation that is on the ballot here. And so the process has been unfolding very smoothly where I am. It has been quite systematic. This has not been a polling station that has attracted long queues. As you will well understand, some 75 million people had already voted before Election Day. So the pressure on a precinct like this one isn't that great. But what we are seeing in places like Michigan, what we are seeing in places like Pennsylvania are long lines. The polls have indicated that the races in those key swing states are very, very tight, and that is being certainly demonstrated by the high turnout we are seeing on Election Day, long queues we understand, but also within an atmosphere of hope and change and wanting to see change, whether that be Donald Trump as a change to President Joe Biden, or whether that it will be Kamala Harris as a change. But we are certainly not even midway through the process here in New York, and still a long, long day ahead of us before we get to the beginning of the end, the counting of the ballots when polls start closing, and the first indications perhaps of what might happen tonight. Which way is the electorate leaning? And that will only become clearer once polls start closing on the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Sherwin, with this election being such a tight one, I mean, the probabilities are endless. In fact, we heard one commentator say, if anyone has to tell you that they know what the outcome will be, they're probably lying. Is it possible that the two candidates could end up in a tie because they have the same number of electoral college votes, 269 each?
Yeah, and the planets would have to align for that moment to happen. It's certainly an option, but it is extremely unlikely, despite what the polls are telling us. Look, if you listen to the campaigns, both are sort of striking a tone of confidence here. David Plouffe, one of Kamala Harris's senior advisors in her campaign, said in an interview on CNN just this week that they believe they have a path to the White House via every single swing state in the United States. They believe they have a path in all of the swing states. And when the follow-up question came, are you saying you could win all of them? The response was yes. We have also now for weeks heard a very positive posture from the likes of Elon Musk, the likes of Donald Trump, that they are going to win this election. In fact, when he was voting down in Florida earlier today, it's something he expressed again, expressing some confidence. But in terms of an analyst or a forecaster in terms of how the chips are going to fall, nobody really knows that. The polling indicates a close race. What we are hearing are 3 different versions of what could happen tonight. So if the polling is very accurate, we will be all night counting every single ballot because the race is going to be too close. And then, as we've talked about, you and I and Paul, about the margin of error in these polls, it's between 2 and 5% in some of the polling. Where does that margin of error land? Does it favor Kamala Harris? Does it favor Donald Trump? And could the margin of error mean a landslide here for either of those candidates? So these are the three scenarios we are looking for tonight. It's either going to be very tight, or it's going to be a landslide for either candidate based on the margin of error. We simply don't know. When will we get a better idea? When Georgia and North Carolina, one of the first two states to close, swing states to close tonight, that's going to give us a little bit of an indication. Why? Because the latest polling shows a neck and neck race in the state of Georgia. It shows a neck and neck race in the state of North Carolina. So how the chips fall in those two states perhaps will give us an indication of what might happen in Pennsylvania, what might happen in Michigan, what might happen in Wisconsin, in Nevada, which will be much later, and Arizona, which will be much later. So we'll be able to read the tea leaves a little bit better after North Carolina and Georgia close.
My understanding is that the US election results are sometimes declared state by state within hours of the polls closing, and then there's a running tally as you go along. I mean, for one, like in 2012, when Barack Obama secured a second term, his victory was projected before midnight, the same evening of Election Day. How could this change with this year's tight contest and some of the expectations, perhaps?
Yeah, so the question really speaks to the data analytics that is certainly within the campaigns, but also in the newsrooms, right? We don't have an independent electoral commission that is a federal commission that basically has a centralized system that announces the results, akin to what you would see in Pretoria at the IEC in May this year, right? It's nothing like that. There are 50 different states with 50 different electoral laws governed by 50 different secretaries of state. So each state is responsible for its own electoral laws and for announcing those rules. But what you also have are data and analytics systems, capacity within the newsrooms of the major news networks in the United States, your Associated Press, your CNN, ABC News, Fox News. They all have the ability to call the election based on how they see the tallies come in. Each state is broken up into different counties. You know that some counties in a state lean Republican. You know that some counties in the state, perhaps with a big metropolis like Philadelphia, for example, tend to lean Democratic. So as the returns come in from the different counties in the different states, you are then able to get an idea of which way a state might go based on the votes that are outstanding. Say it's going to come in from a big metropolis, but if it was coming from a rural area, the high likelihood is that it would favor a Donald Trump. And so that is where the predictive nature of calling an election in the United States comes in. The election will be called by a media organization and not by the official commission, election commission in the United States. It doesn't work like that here. We will eventually get, official results that are tabulated and certified by the U.S. Congress. But tonight is going to be about the networks being brave based on their data, calling an election. And that is based on, where Democrats live, they know where Republicans live, and they know how the voting patterns move in various states. And so that's what you're going to be looking at tonight for us to be able to, either have an early night or a very long night in the days ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease.